Okay. So thyroid gland is one of the endocrine organ which is situated extracranially, means it is situated in the anterior neck, just in front of trachea. Okay, just in front of trachea, and behind the thyroid there are two pairs of parathyroid glands. You can see the picture. So let's briefly describe its anatomy also, though you might have studied in your anatomy section. People are coming. So it develops from pharyngeal epithelium, pharyngeal pouch, isn't it? And what happens if there is no development, no proper development or no movement of the tissue in the tract, thyroglossal tract? What will happen? There will be problem of thyroglossal cyst. Okay, that is different thing. So normal thyroid is a structure which has weight of 15 to 20 grams. Okay, it is situated near the parathyroid glands and recurrent laryngeal nerve. So while doing thyroid surgery, there is always chances of damage of recurrent laryngeal nerve. Damage which can cause aphasia or there is voice problem. Okay, vocal problem. Histologically, it has two lobes, we all know, which is connected by isthmus. So each lobe is divided into multiple lobules, which contain follicles, and that follicle produces colloid. Okay, that contains thyroglobulin. These follicles are lined by cuboidal to low columnar epithelium, and they themselves are filled with colloid. And between the folliculars are specialized cells known as parafollicular cells. What is the function of that parafollicular cell?
Calcitonin secretion.
And what is role of calcitonin?
Calcium homeostasis.
Decrease calcium level.
Yeah.
Decrease calcium level in the blood.
See. Okay, see here briefly the physiology of thyroid, that is pathway of thyroid hormone metabolism. First, it is also guided by hypothalamo-pituitary axis. Okay, so what is produced by hypothalamus? Releasing hormone. Then that stimulates pituitary to produce what? Stimulating hormone, isn't it? Thyroid releasing hormone is produced by hypothalamus, and thyroid stimulating hormone is produced by anterior pituitary. Then it will stimulate thyroid follicular cells to produce triiodothyronine, that is T3, and that triiodothyronine is converted into thyroxine. So overall T3 and T4, triiodothyronine and thyroxine are produced by thyroid gland. Now what would they do? Once they are in optimal amount, they will inhibit or reduce the secretion of TSS. There is balance between T3, T4 and TSS. When there is sufficient amount of thyroid hormones, okay, in the periphery, TSS will be reduced. So directly and indirectly there is suppression of the release of TRH also. Hypothalamus, that is called negative feedback mechanism. T4 is converted to T3 in liver and some many other peripheral tissues. Okay, the enzyme that converts T4 to T3 is monodiiodinases. Some of the T4, T3 are conjugated with glucuronide and sulfate in the liver, and they are also excreted in bile. So there is role of portal system also, hepatic system also. Some of the hormones are partially hydrolyzed within the intestine also. Okay, and they may get reabsorbed. Some portion may get reabsorbed. All right, and there are role of certain drugs that has inhibitory or stimulatory action on thyroid, mostly inhibitory. There are some food which has got inhibitory action, especially because of interference with the iodine absorption. Okay, are you clear with this picture? All right, now we'll start the pathology. Hyperthyroidism means there is thyroid hormone excess. It is actually called thyrotoxicosis. Okay, so what is thyrotoxicosis? Thyrotoxicosis is a state of hypermetabolism. which is caused by increased levels of thyroid hormone. So that clearly defines that thyroid hormone is responsible for metabolism, isn't it? So it is a hypermetabolic state caused by elevated levels of thyroid hormones. There are basically three types. Commonest is primary, less common is secondary, and rare is tertiary. So primary hyperthyroidism is overfunctioning because there is some intrinsic problem in the thyroid. And the example is Graves' disease. I hope many of you are aware of Graves' disease. Secondary hyperthyroidism occurs when the overfunctioning is because of the problem in the pituitary, like pituitary adenoma. And we have already discussed in previous classes that pituitary adenoma causing hyperthyroidism is rare. It is a rare disorder. Then tertiary hyperthyroidism, the problem will be in hypothalamus, which is more rare. Okay, TRS producing adenoma in hypothalamus is rarest. Clear? So most of the thyroid problem we come across is primary, and we should evaluate in that line. Because thyrotoxicosis is mostly caused by thyroid hyperfunction itself, it is also referred as hyperthyroidism. However, if it will be caused by pituitary or hypothalamus, it can't be called can't be called hyperthyroidism. It should be, so basically primary hyperthyroidism is thyrotoxicosis. Sometimes some examiners are fond of asking the difference between thyrotoxicosis and hyperthyroidism. So hypermetabolic state because of increased thyroid hormone is thyrotoxicosis. It can be primary, secondary, and tertiary. The primary one is basically known as hyperthyroidism because there the thyroid itself is hyperfunctioning. Now, what can be the causes of hyperthyroidism? Why there is hyperthyroidism or why there is thyrotoxicosis? Especially primary hyperthyroidism, primary thyrotoxicosis. So there can be various pathology, including thyroid lesion itself, tumor, drugs. There can be role of genetic, hereditary. There can be role of some inflammatory conditions, alteration in hormone because of some physiological or pathological causes. Okay, and then the secondary and tertiary causes. Okay, so common causes are basically the toxic goiter, the goiter which is very hyper functioning and producing excess of hormone, and that condition is known as Graves' disease. Okay, toxic diffuse thyroid enlargement or toxic diffuse goiter is one of the very important cause of hyperthyroidism. So it produces thyroid nodule. Because one of the causes of hyperthyroidism is thyroid nodule, which is hyperfunctioning. Then a tumor itself, toxic adenoma, means there is adenoma which is functioning and elaborating loss of thyroid hormones, like pituitary adenoma, which is though rare. Okay. Then goiter, which is toxic, means many of the endemic goiter, they have tendency to cause hypothyroidism, or they are non-functioning, just mass effect. Okay, no much alteration of thyroid function, or they are hypofunctioning. Okay. However, some of the multinodular goiter can be toxic. Toxic means they're producing hormones so much so that there is toxic effect, and that is called Plummer's disease. Okay. And second one is thyroiditis. Thyroiditis can be of different types. Most of the thyroiditis again called hypothyroidism. The inflammatory condition causes hypothyroidism, but some thyroid like painful subacute thyroiditis or lymphocytic thyroiditis or postpartum thyroiditis, they can cause hyperthyroidism. Okay, postpartum thyroiditis occurs in after childbirth among 5 to 10% of women. Okay, then consumption of excessive iodine, because there is role of iodine in formation of you have studied in biochemistry also, physiology also, how thyroid hormone is produced, isn't it? What is the role of iodine? So if there is more consumption of iodine rich products, there can be chances of hyperthyroidism. And the drugs which suppose someone is say under some medication which has effect on thyroid gland. So excessive injection of thyroid hormone was hypothyroid previously is taking the drug which increases the thyroid level and is taking without like initially it was prescribed. Patient didn't come for follow-up whether my thyroid hormone is normalized or not and went on taking and taking, goes on taking and taking and taking, then what will happen? We'll end up with a thyrotoxicosis crisis or hyperthyroidism. All right. So these are some of the causes. Okay. We divide it in a further as a primary or secondary. We can divide or we can just list out. So primary is pertaining to thyroid itself. So goiter, the toxic nodular goiter, which is very important cause accounting for almost 80% of the cases, and solitary toxic adenoma of the pituitary and thyroiditis. These are common cause. Don't forget Graves' disease, that is toxic goiter, this diffuse toxic goiter, and along with that the multinodular toxic goiter and thyroiditis. These are more common. Secondly, the pituitary tumor and drugs and some ectopic. Can you give example of ectopic thyroid tissue? Anyone? Any idea?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay. Have you heard of struma ovariae? There is a
No,
ovarian,
ma'am.
there is a ovarian tumor, okay, which has tendency to contain ectopic thyroid tissue. Even in dermoid, there is a specialized tumor, okay, also known as teratoma. Okay, they have got ectopic thyroid tissue which may be functioning and that can also cause hyperthyroidism in female. So they are same cause. See here, the struma ovariae. Here I have divided the causes on the basis of radioiodine uptake. Radioiodine isotope uptake is investigation that is done for thyrotoxicosis, whether high uptake is there or low uptake is there. So high uptake causes are Graves. We have to differentiate the causes: Graves, toxic goiters, okay, TSS mediated thyrotoxicosis or SCG mediated thyrotoxicosis. They are high radioisotope iodine uptaking. Okay, so some of the important are Graves and toxic goiter. While malignancy, it is rare that radioiodine uptake is high. While among the low uptake, there is struma ovariae also, which we just talked, in which there is ectopic tissue. Okay, while thyroiditis has low uptake. Now there are certain facts about hyperthyroidism. It is more common in women. Okay, female are common patients of thyroid. Like in puberty, there is chances of hyperthyroidism. There is postpartum hyperthyroidism. Then even the common endemic goiter is more common in female for some unknown reason. Okay, because the salt pattern is same for male and female. Okay, and there is high risk for hyperthyroidism at least in the 6 months. For 6 months of pregnancy, high risk over the age of 60. Okay, this is the physiological mechanism, how there is activation. I will not go in that. I just hope that you people know this. Okay, now let's start the Graves' disease. So among all the causes we discussed, like goiter, thyroiditis, postpartum, drugs, and medications, all these, most common is Graves' disease, which is primary toxic nodular goiter. Okay, it has autoimmune basis. It accounts for 60 to 80% of cases of hyperthyroidism, and it is autoimmune disease in which there is thyroid stimulating immunoglobulins that mimics TSH. Those thyroid stimulating immunoglobulins, TSI, okay, that mimics TSH, so act on the TSH receptor itself. Thyroid has a TSH receptor. Normally TSH is produced by pituitary, but instead of being produced by pituitary, it is produced by thyroid itself and acts on the receptor. Okay, so what will happen? Thyroid will be stimulated and there will be hypersecretion. Okay, and because there is more and more thyroid hormone in the periphery, the pituitary, hypothalamo-pituitary axis remains dormant. Means their hormone level, the releasing and stimulating hormones are at low profile. So because of hypersecretion, there is hypertrophy and hyperplasia of the thyroid follicles morphologically. How this disease was identified? The name Graves' disease is coined after a physician, Robert Graves, in long back, almost 200 years ago, and he reported this on the observation of a disease characterized by violent and long continued palpitation in females. Many female patients were presenting with long and continued, very aggressive palpitation, and they had in common had enlarged thyroid gland. So he correlated the cardiovascular insult with the thyroid problem. Graves' disease is most common cause of the endogenous. It is not exogenous, not caused by drugs or something. It is endogenous cause of hypothyroidism, and it has triad of manifestation. One is thyrotoxicosis, another is ophthalmopathy, and third is dermopathy. Okay, thyrotoxicosis will be manifested by enlarged and hyperfunctioning thyroid gland. Ophthalmopathy, exophthalmos. Have you seen any case of exophthalmos? Seen, heard, picture anywhere?
Picture. Seen in picture.
So the name itself suggests that in exophthalmos there is protrusion of eyeball. Exo means outside. Okay, and this is noted in up to 40% of the cases, not all cases. Okay, then dermopathy. This dermopathy is also designated as pretibial myxedema, which is seen in less common cases. And you should not get confused with the term mixed edema, because mixed edema is preferably used term in case of hypothyroidism. However, the dermopathy of the hyperthyroidism also causes myxedema, that is pretibial myxedema, while generalized myxedema is caused in hypothyroidism. So we will discuss in hypo also. So here please note down triad, thyrotoxicosis, ophthalmopathy, which is infiltrative ophthalmopathy, and infiltrative dermopathy called the pretibial myxedema. Okay. This disease has incidence, higher incidence in the young people, young girls. Okay, in the 20 to 40 years of age. What the cases I have seen are almost around 20 to 30 young girls, even less than 20 also we have seen, and they are more common in female. Common disorder estimated to be, our country has no data, but up to 2% of women in the United States are affected by Graves' disease. Pathogenesis, it is autoimmune disease in which there is autoantibody. That autoantibody mimics TSS. Because of that, it acts on TSS receptor. It activates the production of T3, T4 with hypertrophy and hyperplasia of the thyroid follicles. That causes enlargement of the gland. Basically, Graves means hyperfunctioning of the thyroid gland, but at the same time there is organomegaly also, thyromegaly also. So there is coitus enlargement. Pathogenesis can be asked, okay, it is there in curriculum, and it is very simple. It is autoimmune disease, there is anti-TSI antibodies. All right. So autoantibodies against TSS receptor bind to the TS receptor and causes production of trophic hormones, that is T3, T4, and there are many. These autoantibodies are of different types and different characters. Okay, they can be IgG antibody, that is thyroid stimulating immunoglobulin. One is thyroid stimulating IgG, which is specific for Graves' disease. This one is the commonest. Okay, it mimics TSS, binds to TSS receptor. Another is thyroid growth hormone stimulating immunoglobulins, and third is TSS binding inhibitor immunoglobulins. However, apart from out of all these three, TSI is specific for Graves' disease, which is responsible for most of the pathologies. Okay, now these are the clinical features. You can see the goiter in the first picture, left and right side upper. In second, you can see Graves' ophthalmopathy. In clockwise, in third, you can see pretibial myxedema, and in fourth again there is exophthalmos. Can you see? Okay, in which the eyes is covered, there is prominent thyroid gland, whole neck is appearing bulged. So in pathogenesis, basically at your level to be exam oriented, it is anti-TSI immunoglobulin which causes hypersecretion, production of hormone binding to the TSS receptor. In this and all, there is a T cell mediated autoimmune that causes infiltrative thermopathy, which is one of the characteristic features of Graves' disease. What happens? The volume of retroorbital connective tissue. We also call it infiltrative of thermopathy because there is connective tissue proliferation. So what happens? In retroorbital area, there is connective tissue volume is increased and the extraocular muscles around intraocular muscles. So muscle orientation is also altered. Why this happens? Why the connective tissue retrobulbar or retroorbital connective tissue is increased? Because of the marked infiltration of the space by inflammatory cells, the mononuclear cells, predominantly T cells. Then there is once there is inflammation, there will be edema along with the swelling of the extraocular muscles. All right. And a matrix component. Here comes the infiltrative part. The matrix, which is rich in glycosaminoglycans, hyaluronic acid, chondroitin sulfate. So these causes get accumulated in the extracellular space in the retroorbital area. Okay, so there are two things: inflammatory infiltration rich in T lymphocytes, along with other inflammatory cells, and production of extracellular matrix material, these glycosaminoglycans. In short, we say GAGs, okay, or GAGs. Then there is also fatty infiltration with increased number of adipocytes. So all these causes forward bulging of the eyeball, and at the same time, the function of the eye or extraocular muscle is also altered. Other clinical feature, because this is endocrinopathy, there is head to toe involvement, just like Cushing syndrome in hyperthyroidism or Graves' disease also there is head to toe involvement. The patient is very anxious, irritable, there is tremor. When you see, you have to differentiate from the cerebellar tremors. Okay, in cerebellar lesions, there is intense and tremor. If someone is going to take something intentionally, there is tremor. Why these patients are so anxious that they are shaking their body? There is tremor, difficult sleeping, palpitation is very, very prominent. There is hypodynamic circulation, because of which there is palpitation, frequent bowel movements. Okay, the hyperthyroidism people has habit to visit toilet frequently. They have irritable bowel syndromes also. Heat intolerance. Opposite occurs in hypothyroidism where there is cold intolerance. But in hyperthyroidism, there is heat intolerance. Okay, the movement they want to act very fast but unproductively. They're so anxious that they become clumsy, but they try to be hyperkinetic. Okay, and whatever they eat, they remain lean and thin because there is hypermetabolism. Loss of sweating is there, heat intolerance is there. So these are some of the clinical features you must remember. You may be asked in physiology also, in biopathology, Viva also, though we are more interested in pathogenesis and morphology, but we are fond of asking clinical features. And because Graves' disease is autoimmune disease, it can be associated with other autoimmune diseases. Basically type 1 diabetes mellitus, and some other are myasthenia gravis, pernicious anemia, to exemplify further some of the common conditions. All right. So what will be the finally the clinical feature? Okay, there will be thyroid enlargement, that is goiter, hyperfunctioning of thyroid, that is hyperthyroidism. Okay, protruding of eyeball is exophthalmos, localized myxedema, not generalized myxedema. That localized myxedema is basically pretibial myxedema. Okay. Then there are acropathy. Acro means there is change in some fingers and toes also, acral parts. And we can detect thyroid stimulating. If you remember this slide, you can talk about Graves' disease with the proper hearing of the lecture. These are the basic. Okay. Now, what kind of goiter is in Graves? We have to differentiate the goiter of Graves from the endemic goiter. So it is diffuse. It is not nodular most of the time. It is formed in nature, non-nodular, and if you put a state, you will feel some vascular movements, brute or trail. In clinical postings of surgery, this is the favorite questions of the surgeons, while it is thyroid. And from this basic science knowledge, you can answer over there. So they are diffuse, mobile, slightly firm, and non-tender swellings. There is no pain. Pain is feature of thyroiditis. This is not thyroiditis, okay? There is no associated lymph node because lymph node is common in malignancies or other neoplasms. And one of the very interesting factor is it is diffuse and there is druid air shield on the surface. You can see proptosis, you have to explain the exophthalmos also. So it is proptosis, is bulging of eyeball, the upper portion of the sclera is visible and all that. Okay, extraocular muscle dysfunction. There is lead lag, we say lead lag. Okay, pretibial myxedema with some nodularity, thickened skin. And here is a clinical feature. You typically see a lean and thin person, okay, with the weight loss. There, you can see the safety pin to tuck the pant, okay, to arrange the pant. Heat intolerance, he is moving with the fan. There is finger throbbing, that is acropathy, as we said. There is increased bowel movements, tremors, menstrual changes in female. Hair become fine and straight. There is intolerance to heat, bulging eyes, facial flushing, always red, always anxious, always hyperactive. Okay, tachycardia and palpitation also, rise of BP, systolic BP is raised because of anxiety and stress. Okay, breast enlargement is seen in usually female, and weight loss, muscle wasting, localized edema. These are the features of hyperthyroidism. Now you can see this acropathy of thyrotoxicosis, which is not much important, but you should keep it in your back of the mind so that when you will be posted in clinical classes, it will help you. It is known as plumber's nail, sometimes MCQs in the post basic science life, though we are not much into these clinical features, but still many examiners can ask. But more important are the goiter and exophthalmos and the pretibial myxedema. Still, if you add some points, examiners will be happy. So plumber's nail,